Hello everyone, today I thought we should analyze an alien race fleet from the Babylon 5 universe that we don't know much about, and that race is called the Dilgar. They are well known for their mass invasion of the galaxy and their war crimes during that war. What I want to know is how can a race that wasn't that powerful to begin with build a powerful enough fleet that was almost able to conquer most of the known galaxy? There are two types of Dilgar ships that were designed. The first one's from an unreleased computer game called Into the Fire, and the second one's from Babylon 5 Wars Dilgar Invasion, which has an array of different types of Dilgar ships and information about the Dilgar race. We are going to include both of these designs when we analyze the Dilgar fleet. Before we go over the Dilgar fleets and their different types of ships that were built, we have to go over their technology first, which was one of the main reasons why they did so well during their invasion. The Dilgar experimented with a number of different kinds of weapons, and didn't believe in specializing on any particular weapon type. Any weapon that was invented would be placed on an existing ship to correct any previous weaknesses. They didn't care if the new weapon affected the comfort of the crew, or the weapon was consuming too much of the ship's power that was affecting the ship's life support. Winning was more important than saving lives to the Dilgar. If you think about it, Dilgar were already dead because their sun was going to go supernova, which would destroy their whole entire race. Their only way for them to survive was to colonize other planets, or in their way, invade. Some of their ships had so many new weapons that it made it more of a risk to the fleet, because the weapons were consuming too much power, which was affecting the ship's functions. There were two types of developments that made the Dilgar ships capable of invading multiple races, and these weapons were the bolters and the pulsars. These two weapons were one of the newest developments from the Dilgar and really helped separate them from the other races. There were already weapons in existence that fired bolts of energy but had poor fire control, and its shots spread across a wide area, making it more for suppression than actual fighting. The Dilgar refined this weapon into two specialized weapon types called bolters and pulsars, both considered pulse weapons but are slightly different. Bolters are energy weapons that fire a huge ball of energy and results in huge damage to any ship that gets hit by it. During the war, it was proven to knock out enemy warships with ease. It's not commonly used after the war, but minor races and raiders still use this weapon. The pulsars was actually created on accident, but it's capable of firing more controlled pulse, making it highly efficient against units of fighters. After the war, the Earth Alliance used the Dilgar pulsars to update their pulse cannons. The Dilgar also had other weapons as well, such as lasers and plasma weapons. One of their weapons, called the Heavy Laser Cannon, was not known by the other younger races, but laser weapons were mostly replaced by bolters and pulsar guns towards the end of the war. The Dilgar also had plasma weapons that are still used by other races today, but back then it didn't have the best long range and it was mostly used for close range combat. Since we reviewed the different types of weapons that the Dilgar ships carry, now let's review the ships. Starting out on the list is the Thorun Dartfighter, which was a Dilgar fighter during the war. The fighter was the major reason why the Dilgar did so well in the beginning of the war. It's a heavily armored fighter during its time, and it's a big ship compared to other fighters from other races. The ship has amazing maneuverability, and that's due to Dilgar engineers removed the atmospheric capabilities, making the fighter move better during combat. The ship also has two light bolt cannons and is capable of carrying 4 missiles. Older fighters had light bolter cannons, and before that they had light particle guns, which was out of date during that time. It was defended by a heavy armored hull, and it's unknown how many pilots the ship carried, but most likely carried 1 or 2 pilots. The Dilgar pilots were well trained and usually never surrendered, making them a hard opponent to face. The second fighter is known as the Dilgar Fighter, which carried 1 pilot and had 1 burst particle cannon. The next Dilgar ship in the fleet is the Athraskala Heavy Bomber. The Athraskala was designed specifically for the bombardment of planets from orbit. This ship rarely saw combat and would wait in hyperspace until the battle was won. During the end of the war, when things started to get desperate, the bombers were armed with missiles to help fight off the League of Non-Aligned Worlds and the Earth Alliance. The bomber was always a target for attacks, and many ships would ram into it to destroy it. The bomber is defended by a standard armored hull, which is the same kind of armor that most Dilgar support ships have. The ship is armed with 1 mass driver, 4 Class S missile rack, 2 scatter pulsars, and 4 bomb racks. The main ship and the ultimate platform to bring any fighter to any battle is the Garasoch Heavy Carrier, which was the most poorly armed ship within the Dilgar fleet. Most of the time the carrier would jump into the battle in the beginning, release the fighters, and jump back into hyperspace. It might return if the battle was won. This would force the pilots to win the battle or die trying, because the carrier would not return unless they won the battle. There was not a lot of these carriers that were built, and by the end of the war, most of them survived. The reason why most of them survived during the war is that they spent most of their time in hyperspace and away from combat. At the last battle of the war, Carrier tried to ram into the Earth Alliance flagship after launching all their fighters. Only one of the carriers succeeded. The carrier is defended by a standard armor hull and is armed with 6 scatter pulsars and 2 energy pulsars. The ship is also equipped with sensors. The next ship is the backbone of the Dilgar Navy, and that ship is known as the Tratharti Gunship. It's a heavily armed cruiser, which is fitted with a mass driver for long-range bombardment of planetary surfaces. The mass driver is deactivated during combat and the power is used for other needed systems. Once the battle is won, the mass driver is reactivated and is used on the planet's population. These ships were also a huge target during the war due to all the devastation they caused. The gunship is defended by a heavy armored hull and is armed with 1 mass driver, 6 heavy bolters, 2 medium laser cannons, and 2 scatter pulsars. The ship is also equipped with sensors as well. Before we go over the Dilgar flagship, let's give some honorary mentions to other Dilgar ships as well. And that ship is known as the Dilgar Aquavita Destroyer. It has 2 medium laser cannons, 4 medium bolters, 2 point pulsars, 2 scatter pulsars, and 1 bomb rack. Of course, the ship is heavily armed and has sensors. None of these ships survived the war. Now to the Dilgar flagship called the Mishakur Dreadnought. It's the largest ship built and operated by the Dilgar. It's used as a flagship to any of their fleets, and the ship's control abilities are highly developed. There were very few of them built, and there was usually 1 for every fleet. During battles, the Dreadnought was the main target because of the control it had over the fleet. The ship has a heavy armored hull and advanced sensors built in. It's armed with 2 medium lasers, 2 energy pulsars, and 8 scatter pulsars. The Dilgar also had another flagship called the Dilgar Warcruiser, which had a heavily armored hull and was armed with twin X-ray laser cannons, heavy plasma pulse cannons, twin missile launcher tubes, and twin medium pulse plasma cannons. What made the Dilgar fleet so powerful was their effort to design a ship that was heavily armed. The Dilgar did not focus on land battles and chose to fight in space. This allowed them to easily gain territory without worrying about fighting a long battle on land. The fleet's downfall was overloading their ships with weapons that required too much power. This forced the crew to deactivate certain weapons to be more efficient during battle. After the war, the Dilgar weapons were taken and used to advance the younger race's weapons. Let me know which sci-fi fleet you want me to analyze next, and also which Dilgar ship was your favorite. Personally, I would choose the Dreadnought. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. If you enjoy my content, then please follow me on my socials. Don't forget to check out these other 2 videos that are displayed on the screen. Thank you for watching Utopian Broadcast, and I'll see you next time on my channel. Thank you.